Okay, so here's where it starts to get a little bit crazy. I have two terms. The first one is all of that stuff that I just put a brace under in orange, and the second one comes after the plus sign, all with the blue. And since I'd like to simplify, and at the same time I don't want negative exponents, I'm going to check to see if there's anything that everything in the orange and everything in the blue has in common. And I'm going to factor that out. So what I notice is that there's a 2x. Yes, that one's a negative, but I'll leave the negative. And there's a 1 minus x squared quantity. And the lowest number of them that I have is negative 1/2. And so we're going to do a little side note here. If you are factoring this, that's a 2x. And I say, just kidding, let's try this. And I say, what can you factor out? You would take out an x. Well, why not an x squared? Or why not an x cubed? Oh, because the most that the smallest one has is 1. And so every time I do greatest common factor, I'm always really taking out the lowest power. And so out of the two that are up here, the lowest power is the negative 1/2. Okay, so now the question is, what's left? So now remember, the leftovers go inside parentheses. So I'm going to put some parentheses here, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at everything that was here in the front. So let's see, I took out the 2x, but I left a negative. I still have a 1/2 and an x squared. But the 2x was gone, and the whole parentheses is gone. So that's all I have. When I look at the second one, the 2x I pulled out in front, but I had some more of these left. Now, if you stop and you look down here at these, and I say, how do you get the leftover powers? Hopefully you would say you subtract. So you did 3 minus 1, and then you did 2 minus 1, and then you did 1 minus 1, and that generates all the new powers. So I'm going to take, and remember, it's what I started with minus the 1 in front. So what I started with was a 1/2, and if I subtract the 1 that's in front, so 1/2 minus negative 1/2, then I get 1. So the leftover power would be 1 minus x squared to the first. And then I'm going to simplify inside those parentheses. So of course I would distribute the positive 1. So nothing in the front is going to change. And then when I combine like terms, I'll have a negative 1/2 squared and a negative x squared. So that's negative 3/2 x squared plus 1. And since I'm not allowing negative exponents, I'll have to write that 1 on bottom. So on top, I have all that, and on bottom, now here's the only catch. I'm not supposed to have fractional coefficients. So the question is, how do I get rid of that negative 3/2? Well, of course, one way to do it would be to distribute that 2. That would clean it up, and so I'd have x on the outside, negative 3x squared plus 2 over, 1 minus x squared. That's supposed to be a positive 1/2 when I brought it down, wasn't it? And that would be my final answer.